All right, thank you so much to everybody who has joined us here for our Student Success webinar. I wanted to kick off and introduce myself very quickly, give you a couple of housekeeping things before we introduce our presenter for tonight. First of all, my name is Anna. I'm one of the admissions counselors here on the team at MSU, and I will be hosting a short Q&A at the end here so that we can get some really important questions answered for you guys. But I want to kind of give a little bit of instruction and a little bit of help just in case anybody cannot hear me. Of course, if you can't hear me, you couldn't hear me say that. But if anybody is having any issues connecting to the webinar at all, you can always call into the webinar from this toll-free or toll line, and then you can use this access code that is on the screen here. As always, we will record this webinar and we will upload it to our YouTube tomorrow, and then anybody who registered for it will be receiving a link to that recording in their email. And then the last thing that I wanted to kind of give a little bit of instruction on is throughout this presentation, if you guys have any questions that you would like immediately answered or maybe banked so that we can answer them at the end during that live Q&A, I would really encourage you all to use the Q&A feature on WebEx. So if you go to the very bottom right-hand side of your screen and you look at the three little dots that say panel options, if you click on that and then click on Q&A, that will bring up the Q&A feature. I think the chat feature automatically opens when you open up WebEx. If it opened up for you, the chat feature is not enabled at the moment. For everybody, the Q&A feature just lets us answer those questions a little bit more directly for you. It's a little bit more organized. But then we do have our counselor team with us as well. So they'll be helping answer some of those questions in the Q&A feature. And then if we need them to drop any links to anything that we reference throughout the presentation, we can always go ahead and drop that in the chat so that everybody has access to it. Perfect. Alrighty. So I think that is it for housekeeping. So I'm going to turn it over to our host tonight, Dr. Carina Beck from the Allen Yarnell Center for Student Success. Take it away.
There was that momentary pause, wasn't there, Anya? It's good to see everyone this evening. My name is Carina Beck, and I serve as Vice Provost for the Allen Yarnell Center for Student Success. And it is a great pleasure to visit with you this evening. And I'm going to share my slides with you. And we're going to have a conversation building to this idea of some of the success strategies we recommend for students. And before I do that, I'm going to give you a sense of what we'll talk about today. I'm going to answer that question of why college matters. I imagine for many of you on the call, you're thinking about, should I go to college? And does college matter? And, of course, my answer is yes, but I'm going to give you some thoughtful reasons to really explore that question. Then we'll talk about making the transition to college. I'm going to focus on careers of the future. And then finally, I'll end with some of those AYCSS services, the Allen Yarnell Center for Student Success Services, that I think are essential for students as they're thinking about making the transition to college. And for parents on the call and guardians and friends of, we want you to know what MSU offers specifically to our Bobcats to ensure your success. So before I get started, a little bit about me. That's me. There's my better half, Lawrence or Lair, and our two boys. My husband and I both are graduates of MSU, but we've also graduated from other institutions. We're proud to have lived in the Gallatin Valley for over 30 years, and we're raising our two sons here. And I do hope one day that they will be Bobcats and graduate from MSU. I've served at MSU now for over 28 years, and I've been involved in higher education for 30 years. And I think now is one of the best and most important times to earn a university degree. And I'm going to talk about that, particularly as you think about your student experience here. Okay, so let's take on this question. Is college worth it? We're reading a lot about that in the newspaper or online feeds. And honestly, we love answering this question because, in our opinion, the answer is yes. So let's first talk about what most people think about. And is college worth it? And I can share with you some of the latest Bureau of Labor Statistics data. So this is just as we were rounding out the pandemic, the difference between the amount of education one earns and their earnings. And this is from ages 25 to 64. And I'm sharing this because as we look at surveyed individuals with a bachelor's degree and higher, I want you to know this is over a range of one's career, but we also want you to see some of those important distinctions in terms of gaps. In our opinion, when we see these higher salaries, we know that our students and graduates, students who've gone on to be graduates, have done some of the right things. They've earned an internship, which the Allen Yarnell Center for Student Success, along with many of your faculty and departments on campus, will help with. Students have participated in research experiences. Your faculty will be essential for that. And of course, we have career fairs and other activities along with on-campus employment that really help our students boost this number. Okay, but you met my two boys. You know that I'm thinking about college in different frames of reference. And of course, I want them to have a great salary when they graduate from college. We want them to be able to provide for themselves. But there's more to it. This is an area that I've been studying over the past several years, and that is how do we help our students generate a sense of purpose and belonging? And if our graduates have that sense of purpose and belonging, what does that mean for overall fulfillment in life? Okay, so I'm going to get a little deep with you for about 4 slides and take on this question of, is college worth it? Not just from a financial sense, and I think I've illustrated that, but again, how do we develop a sense of purpose and fulfillment in life? And this is a very interesting case study that was developed by Ann Case and Angus Deaton. Angus Deaton is a Nobel laureate. He won the Nobel Prize in economics. What's interesting is they spend a lot of time in Montana, and their book, Deaths of Despair, actually began in Montana. Okay, where am I going with this? As we think about the purpose of a college degree, I want to back up a little bit and give you a sense of what's going on in the United States, and we'll soon see other countries, relative to this rise of despair, either between suicide, alcohol, or drugs. And I teach a class on this. So I think this is very important for our students to understand as they're thinking about a purpose of a college degree. About the time of 2000, we see this skyrocket. We see this grow. Question becomes why? Very interestingly, we see how in the United States, based on a survey population that we were able to establish for not just these decades, but for decades beyond, that we see tremendous growth in the United States in deaths of despair when compared to other nations. Now, the authors, Angus Deaton and Ann Case, fully admit that their data set is limited, and they've looked at other data sets that has more diversity involved, and they see similar examples. This is US Census Bureau data. Okay, so why am I sharing this with you? Like, why are we talking about this on a Wednesday evening? Well, the trick ties into, we see many fewer deaths of despair for college graduates. This is a really stunning finding. So as we look at this rise of despair and concerns about mental health, jobs of the future, opportunities, fulfillment, we know our college graduates have really not experienced this. We're seeing great inequities. And as I think about my own boys, I'm very concerned about these inequities, and we want to make sure we help as many students graduate from Montana State University because we know it matters, not just for the amount of you'll earn, but as we think about that life fulfillment. Here's another example. Individuals who have a college degree have much less chronic pain. Stunning, the differences and how they chart almost evenly in terms of the gaps. Here's just one more example. And this is the difference between happiness versus unhappiness. And here we actually see college grads, technically speaking, becoming happier over the years. We're non-college graduates, we see this tremendous rise. So as we have this conversation about is college worth it, our answer is yes. And it's more than just how much you will earn. We think it's about fulfillment in life. Okay. So now I'm going to make, now that you've had that infomercial to really, I hope, give you a sense of this hard work that you're about to embark on, going to college, learning at Montana State University. Is it worth it? The answer is yes. And now we're going to give you a sense of how to make that transition to college. In our sense, and as I've read many of your questions, this is about mindset. You've heard about this in high school or maybe in some of your readings, but we are very much committed to this idea of mindset. So as we think about tips and tricks for being successful in college, it first and foremost begins with mindset. Why are you here? Why do you want to graduate with a college degree? Hopefully I've given you two great examples. But more importantly, how are you going to learn? I'm sharing this slide with you because many of our new Bobcats feel like this is how you learn. Sort of work really hard for a while, and then you can kind of coast. And I think many of us have been taught that, particularly as we think about like riding a bike or that idea of learning how to ski. Once you do it for a while, you become pretty comfortable with it. I mentioned to you that I teach here at MSU, and one thing that we know is that that learning curve was actually established by a psychologist named Edward Thorndike. What he did was place a hungry cat in a box, not a bobcat, but a hungry cat in a box. He gave that cat a reward, and when the cat figured out how to open up the trap door, the cat received the reward. This learning curve is a time trial from that hungry cat or several hungry cats in a box. The more they practiced that trial, that experiment, the quicker they learned how to do it to receive their reward. Well, we know we're not hungry cats in a box, and we know our learning curve slopes upward. This is that question of mindset. So as you think about some of those tips and tricks, we want you to think about how are you going to be a college student? At MSU, we're very focused on supporting you with that. So we provide you with a very solid orientation experience that's hosted by admissions, but many of us on campus are involved in it. And we're here to help you support that upward sloping learning curve. Over those first 6 months of college, you'll have a steep learning curve. And I'm going to talk about some of the supports to help sort of flatten that learning curve, not make it quite as severe. Of course, there'll be times where your learning curve will plateau. It just becomes routine or easier. But our goal is to set you up for graduation. And the point with sharing this with you is if you approach college or your mindset with that idea that I've been a student for a while, I know how to be a student, we would suggest that actually there will be a gap in your learning. And we want you to slope your learning curve up. And frankly, this is what we do very well at MSU. Okay, so let's talk about how we engage every Bobcat. And this is I'm sure you've seen this picture before. We love this. This is when we welcome our incoming class to MSU. There's Champ, there's the president. And on our minds, as we look at this, is how do we engage each of you to be successful? And we focus deeply on this idea of purpose. We believe purpose is a manifestation of the problems we wish to solve. And that's why you're earning your college degree. We're problem solvers. And now I'm going to shift to what are you going to do with a college degree? And many of your questions asked about like, how are you going to find a job? And we have lots of resources for you on that. But first, I'm going to give you a sense of where the jobs are. Okay, why am I showing you a slide of a old home from roughly the 1800s? Well, we know there's many layers to the economy. And the first is the natural resources. There are still jobs in the natural resources. We classify that as agriculture. We classify that as timber, mining, the extractive industries. In the 1900s, we had the manufacturing economy, a new layer. So those natural resource jobs did not go away, but new jobs emerged. Okay, manufacturing. Many of you might come from states where manufacturing is leading your economy. In Montana, we still have the natural resources with some manufacturing. Most of us who are just a little older understand that the 2000s, or what we described as Y2K, was a major shift in the economy. And this is where we saw one disruptive innovation every year since that time. Some of us remember dial-up phone calls and relational databases, online retail, of course, data storage and imagery, GPS and GIS. Something new is happening now relative to quantum, and I'm going to save time to talk about that at the end of the presentation. So these are jobs that we can predict on, and these are careers, and these are majors you can engage in at MSU. But we're also seeing new economies, and we're seeing these evolve every 10 years now. The climate economy, the space economy, and what we're describing as the longevity economy, where the Bureau of Labor Statistics believes that a good percentage of the population that has been born in the past 20 years will live well beyond 100 years old. This means there's going to be major shifts to the economy, which means this is where we think the jobs to the future will be. Okay, I wanted to give you that overview to give you a sense of what we're thinking about at MSU as we think about your success, or what we describe as student success science. And now I want to talk to you about some of those tips and tricks, or how will help you navigate your learning, your development, and your engagement at MSU. Learning is how you're going to learn inside and outside of the classroom. Development is how you're going to grow as a person. You know, what major are you going to be most interested in? How are you going to establish your parameters as an adult? How are you going to make choices? We call that choice architecture, that will help align with your career, personal, and professional objectives. And of course, how are you going to engage here? How are you going to leverage this experience to be not only a Bobcat, but a citizen, an engaged citizen of MSU and the community around you? So, thinking about your questions, these are some programs that we offer at MSU to help you with that engagement. The first thing that I want you to know is that we're very focused on your academic success here at MSU. And we have several programs to help you with that. The first that I want to feature is Smarty Cats tutoring. MSU offers either free tutoring or, wait for it, $2 an hour one-on-one tutoring, unlimited, at Montana State University. We offer tens of thousands of hours of tutoring so that students, as you're worried about making that transition to MSU, that you know that you're receiving excellent support from not only your faculty, but student peers who've done very well in their classes that you're now, or that you will be enrolled in. The other thing that we offer is a series of communication and supports that are aligned with becoming a Bobcat. We're very focused on your first year. And so you have the opportunity to meet with a success advisor. I'll talk about career coaching in a second, but a success advisor, someone, a professional who's dedicated to help you navigate MSU, to help you figure out how, when your deadlines are, or how to read your syllabus, or how to log into our on-campus online learning system, Brightspace or D2L. We also have classes like US 103, which are learning strategies classes. I've spent a lot of time talking about learning, but our goal is to help you not learn at a high school level, but learn at a college level. So as you think about, is college worth it? You're able to really take on some of the learning that might be different and applied so you can get the most out of your education. Okay, the next thing that I want to focus on relative to services or tips and tricks is the Career and Internship Services Office. And here I want to focus on a few programs. The first is our fall and spring career fairs. Each fall and each spring, we host fairs for employers to recruit at MSU. On average, over both fairs, we'll have over 600 employers recruit. This is a tremendous opportunity for you to learn about internships and receive internships. It's also a tremendous opportunity for you to be able to apply for professional jobs when you finish college. You're able to do this through our online campus job application portal called Hire a Bobcat. Here we have thousands of employers who are recruiting our students. So even though they may not come to career fair, and in some cases, even though they might not post a job, they have access to your resume if you upload it and to some of your information where employers will work to find you. It's like a first step LinkedIn. Some of the other things that we do are offer career coaching. We have professional career coaches that will help you learn how to navigate or connect your major to career opportunities. We teach a class called Education, the World of Work in You. Some of the data that I just shared with you, we discuss in that class. We offer an etiquette dinner. We have Bobcat mentoring. And many of you ask the question about how you're going to find a job on campus. And this is where we have the Gold Standard program designed specifically to help students find jobs here either at MSU, I'm going to go back, either at MSU or in the campus or beyond the campus community. And we tie a leadership program to it. So you are thinking about and learning about the competencies that you need in order to be able to have that first or second job that yield those income results that I talked about going forward, talked about earlier during the presentation. We also offer the Student Employment Job Fair tied to the Gold Standard, where we help you find jobs on campus through an employment job fair. And here you can see, if you go out to the MSU webpage and type in career destinations, you'll see the salary survey data for our graduates over the past 15 years. And you can get a sense of where our graduates begin with their income. And then the table that I shared with you at the beginning of the presentation about occupational salaries gives you a sense of possibilities as you're mid-career. Okay. Finally, I want to visit with you about financial education. Montana State University was one of the first universities in the United States to offer an Office of Financial Education. This is different than an Office of Financial Education, different than an Office of Financial Aid. Here, we help you navigate how you will pay for college, how you can apply for scholarships, how you can think about salary negotiation when you receive an internship or a full-time job, how you can structure your debt to make sure your debt is an investment and it's used as a tool to generate a better future, right? That future filled with purpose, that future that you feel a sense of meaning and fulfillment. We also help you understand questions related to studentaid.gov, particularly as we're all thinking about that FAFSA form. So if you have questions about FAFSA, you're of course welcome to visit with our Office of Financial Education. They are the Office of Financial Aid on our campus. They are the go-to people for questions for FAFSA. But if you have some other questions about how to package your loans, how much you should work, how you might be able to structure some of your other lines of support to finance your education, the Office of Financial Education is very helpful for you. Okay, so those are some programs and some offerings for you that we offer in the Allen Yarnell Center for Student Success. I want you to know we have many professionals that are dedicated to helping you make that transition from college, from high school to college, and then college to career. We offer classes and we offer workshops. We spend a lot of time thinking about how we can help you maximize your investment. So when you graduate from MSU, you really do appreciate that this college experience was worth it. So that is the slideshow for you. Now I'm happy to take on any questions you might have.
Right. Thank you so much for that presentation. It was very, very helpful, I know. We had a ton of questions in the registration form initially from students who registered for this webinar. And then for anybody who is attending, if you have questions that are not yet being answered, feel free to drop them in that Q&A feature and I can go ahead and ask Dr. Beck live. Perfect. So our first question for you is what resources are available for students struggling with their transition from high school to college?
Great, thanks, Anya. Well, hopefully you saw some of them, right? The first thing is we talk about mindset is that idea that if you sense that you are finding the transition from high school to college challenging, and I will tell you, most of our students do. Right? This is a major transition in your life. It goes back to that learning curve. So if you're having that challenge, the first thing that you need to do is make sure you're connecting with the Allen Yarnell Center for Student Success. You can also visit with an RA. You can visit with a faculty member. But very clearly, we have those supports for you. And when I say we have professionals, our staff is remarkable. And they meet one-on-one with students. They'll also meet with students and parents. And we begin to diagnose like where maybe some of those concerns are for how you're making that transition from high school to college. And then we begin to give you a slate of experiences, whether it's tutoring, joining a club, participating in intramurals, role playing with how you're going to interact with your faculty. And then slowly and sometimes quickly, we work through any of those concerns so you become more connected to the university. And that steep learning curve suddenly begins to plateau and it becomes more comfortable. So I want our students on the call and parents on the call to know, like, this is not the first time we've taken on this question. And if you choose to walk through that front door or get connected at MSU, you will be amazed at how quickly and how supportive that transition experience can be.
Amazing, thank you. Another question that we had from students was, how can students get work experience within their degree field while still being a student at MSU, so before they ever graduate?
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we have this program called Gold Standard. And the Gold Standard program, and you can go out and look at it online, the Gold Standard program is designed exactly for that. We have a staff member who you can connect with, send an email, drop in, have a WebEx chat, and that staff member will listen to what your interests are, where you are focused on with your degree, where you may want to think about in terms of your career, if you want to work for industry, if you want to work for government, a nonprofit. Do you want to be in sales? Do you want to be in IT? Do you want to work in hospitality? Like, they'll ask you a bunch of questions. And from there, we'll begin to make matches for on-campus, either work study or non-work study. This is a great first way to get some solid work experience at MSU. With this program, and this is what makes it so special, we've tied a leadership or a learning component to it. You don't have to do that, but if you want to get that extra edge, we're very focused on how are we helping you develop your competencies and your leadership skills. So if you want just a job, no problem. We've got that with a Gold Standard program. If you want a job and leadership experience, we tie that together as well. Does that answer the question, Anya?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. Perfect. We have another question for you. How would you say that MSU measures student success? So when we're talking about that, what exactly does student success mean under that umbrella?
Okay, so we measure student success in different ways. Of course, we're thinking about our graduates and where are they working, right? We do look at that question of, where are they working? How much are they earning, et cetera, et cetera. We measure success, though, differently, and that is that question of purpose. Do our graduates tell us that they find purpose and meaning with their work? That goes back to that whole question of, is college worth it? And generally speaking, we find not only do they say it's worth it, there's a really high level of satisfaction with the work that they're doing. The important element of that is finding an internship or a research experience while you're in college. When our students do that, and we measure this, we see their satisfaction and that sense of purpose post-graduation in their careers as being really remarkable. Okay, so that's one measure. Of course, we're always thinking about our students persisting to the next semester. Are they doing well in their classes? Are they engaging on campus? We look at all of those measures, and I can assure the audience on the call that we're paying attention to it. We're pleased with where we're at, but we're always focused on getting better. And we think they should expect that from us.
Awesome, thank you. One, I think, super important question that we received within the registration form was a little bit of a question about support for LGBTQ plus students. What kind of support there might be for non-binary or trans students, especially when it comes to living on campus and dorm life. Would you be able to speak a little bit on that?
Absolutely. You know, MSU is dedicated to student success. We not only have a Center for Student Success, we have a group of people beyond the center that are very focused on making sure that every student feels a connection, feels support, feels commitment, right, to their education. And that certainly includes our LGBTQ community. And we have a DISC office, a diversity and inclusion space. Their work is remarkable, and they serve all students. Our residence halls they're very caring. You know, they have a real mission and commitment to make sure that it's not just a hall, it's a home, and that they listen to their students, and, you know, they try to support individual needs. Even our food service, like the work that they do to support students, you know, with different dietary needs, different, you know, concerns about being connected, feeling maybe overwhelmed, if they're not feeling well, not feeling healthy, that idea that you can have a meal prepared for your, you know, to take home, your roommate can pick up for you. I'm sharing all of these different examples because even though we are a R1, you know, top tier research institution, I would submit that if you want to belong here, we will do everything we can to support your sense of belonging. So I hope that answers that question, but you know, we authentically care about each of our students.
Absolutely. And then how would you say that MSU compares to other universities when it comes to student success resources across campus?
Well, you know, I'm going to say this boldly, but I think we're one of the best. We got a start much earlier than everyone else. If you ask other universities questions about when did you start doing student success, very few will say, well, we've been doing this for over 20 years. And I can share that at MSU, we've been doing this for over 20 years. Before this topic became vogue, we were doing it. And for the parents and guardians on the call and you know, advocates for your students, some of you might remember in college, we all heard that speech of if you look to your right, you look to your left. Next year at this time, one of you isn't going to be here. That was pretty common thinking, and it was a point of pride to weed out students. It is a point of pride for us to engage students and support their belonging. And that goes back to the slides I shared at the beginning. If we help our students find a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging, you know, they will very quickly be able to answer that question of college was worth it because I feel fulfilled and I have a good life.
Amazing, thank you. Would you be able to explain the early alert system that we offer through NAV MSU and the benefits of it for both faculty and students across campus?
What a great question. Who asked that?
It was not me, it was one of our counselors, so I'll give the credit for them.
Good job, counselor. Okay, so the early alert system is designed to be responsive to students if they're having challenges in the classroom. This is an example of how we loop together at MSU, and we care about every student. Okay, so this is how it rolls. Faculty member will send an alert to our team. And then our team, and for a student that might have failed a class, might not be attending class, you have to go to class. It's one of the most important things you can do for your education. So attend class, maybe feeling or looking a little disconnected in class, like your faculty member is worried about you. They send us an alert, and then we send you an email and a note, and we invite you to come in and meet with a success advisor. Know that that's a lovely conversation. You are not invited to the principal's office. This goes back to that idea we care about every student. You come into the Allen Yarnell Center for Student Success, and that success advisor helps you diagnose, like, do you need more tutoring time? Do you need a campus job? Do we need to get you out of your dorm room? And do we need to have you connect with people? Maybe that might mean a campus job where you can earn a little money, but also build a connection and think about your career path. It might mean working out, going to joining intramurals. It might mean volunteering. It might mean going to office hours. It might mean going to the writing center or the math center or the chemistry help center. You're getting the idea that we have all of these resources on campus. So that early alert system is really designed to say, we care about you, we've got your back, we're watching you, and we're here to help.
Amazing, thank you. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about MSU. It's something that I was introduced to while I was a faculty member last semester, and I just thought that that was so cool. It's not something that was offered at the university that I attended. So what
and
type
on that
of...
note, I just want to say, we will receive over 2,000 alerts a semester. Think about that. Now, these students aren't necessarily failing, right? That's not the purpose of it. It's that, hey, I care about you. I see you, I care about you. I want to make sure you get the help that you need to be fully successful here.
Awesome.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
that.
What types of services are available when it comes to student wellness, whether that's physical health, mental health, physical fitness? What kind of services are available across campus for that?
Well, in case people on the call haven't heard, we are going to open this incredible wellness facility later in August, and sky will be the limit in terms of wellness services. So that wellness center will be focused on your physical health and well-being, a great rec center, your mental health and well-being, and then as we think about that question of mindset, that supports for mindset development, but also nutrition and engagement. I believe that MSU will have one of the best facilities in the country. And so this is a really exciting opportunity to become a Bobcat.
We are very anxious for the Student Wellness Center to open up. For everybody in the chat, if you are coming in fall of 2024, the grand opening for the Student Wellness Center is planned August 22nd, which is the day after classes start on campus. So you will already be here when that opens up, and everything will be open. You can go take a look at it, which is so exciting. We are so excited to have that on campus. What kind of assistance will students receive each semester as they are building a schedule and registering for classes?
Okay, great question. Each student is assigned an academic advisor, either a professional advisor and or a faculty member. In terms of assistance, students are required, this is not optional, they are required to meet with an academic advisor or have that academic advising appointment with their faculty. This is so important, not just for selecting classes, but thinking about on-time graduation, thinking about how you're making a connection from major to career. In addition to those academic advisors and those academic advising appointments, students are invited to meet with a career coach. And that career coach then begins to translate the pathway of your academic major to career. And how do we introduce you to employers? How do we get you connected with internships? How do we make sure that when you graduate from college, You're finding that career, not a job, but a career filled with meaning. And that's a really as we talk about mindfulness, that's something that requires mindfulness. It requires engagement. It requires some deep thinking and reflection. Our career coaches are excellent. And so they approach students with a design thinking mindset. Some of you have heard about design thinking. We employ that model with our career coaches. And it helps our students think not just about a job, but where are my strengths? Where are my gaps? Where do I want to grow? And where do I want to have an impact? It's a great process.
Fantastic. There was one follow-up question in the chat that I didn't grab for the early alert. When that alert gets sent to the student, someone is wondering, do parents/family members receive an alert as well, or does it just go to the student?
It just goes to the student. And that's really important for a few reasons. One, of course, privacy, and we pay attention to privacy. Two, we believe in that developmental growth that's important for our students as they move into that like adulting. And so we want our students to understand that when we receive these notifications, they need to move forward on them. They need to check on them. They need to connect, work with people who will help them problem solve. We hope our students are talking to their parents, right? We hope that's happening. Okay, so if you're a parent on the call, you might say, well, like if I'm worried about my son or daughter, can I provide an alert? And the answer is, of course, right? If you're worried about the well-being of your student, call the Dean of Students office. Certainly you're welcome to call the Allen Yarnell Center for Student Success, but the best place for it is the Dean of Students office. And they'll do a great job following up with your student. And if we need to visit with parents, we're happy to do that. One thing that you should know as you think about FERPA and this idea of privacy is there's nothing with student privacy or FERPA that prevents us from listening to a parent, not one thing. So if there's a concern, call us. We're absolutely delighted to listen and support. We do, we are required, but we also respect privacy. There's lots of space in between where we can work together.
Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate you taking up that follow-up question for us. We had a couple of questions just across the board about jobs on campus. So I'll kind of ask those in succession. The first one is a question I have actually received a lot from incoming students who really want to work on campus. They are wondering when they should apply for jobs. Should that be before they get to MSU campus? Should that be the second that they get here? Should they take a little bit and then get a job? Yeah, they're just wondering when.
Okay, so we really want students to work on campus. Okay, so let's just start there. We do too. We need students to be leaders. We need students to, help us with every end and opportunity of campus operations. We benefit from student employment. Our staff also benefit from student employment, not just from the perspective that they have someone to help them do their work. Our staff are like built-in mentors, and they want to mentor and create and shape remarkable experiences for students. Okay. So just understand that we want students to work on campus. This is something I hear all the time. And again, that's why we started the Gold Standard program. Now, let me ask you a question about when. Sooner's better, right? Sooner's better. So if you know you're coming to campus in the fall, email Gold Standard or connect with them at summer orientation. Like, let's not delay the future. Let's get going. Okay. Now, if you didn't do that, don't feel any guilt. What's the best time to plant a tree? Well, 20 years ago and today, right? So if you didn't do it at summer orientation, then do it when you arrive on campus. And our team in the Gold Standard program will work with you to identify a job that, we hope gives you some meaning and a connection on campus. Now the final thing I'm going to leave you with, whether you need, quote unquote, need the money or not, one of the best things that you can do in terms of finding that sense of fulfillment and engagement, a mentor, is work on campus. Study after study after study, even if it's 5 hours a week. It gets you out of your room. It gets you connecting with humans, right? You know, visiting and connecting, solving problems together, using your mind in a different way. It often brings our students great joy and pride that they're making a contribution to MSU. Working on campus matters.
You
How was
just
that
answered
for
my
a pitch?
next question. You read my mind, I think. Perfect. Yeah. I mean, our next question was, what are the benefits of having a job on campus? Another question that we had are just in general, if you have some examples of different options of jobs across campus. I know when I was going to college, I kind of thought everybody had to work in dining, and that's like the only student job that I could come up with. And I really didn't want to work in a dining hall. But you know, it works for some people, it doesn't work for others. What are some other examples of jobs other than just, I think, dining service, which is very much a classic one when you're in college?
Sure. I do want to start there, though. They hire hundreds of students. And like dining is a great student job. And then I'm going to go into some others. But our dining services, they pay very competitively. If you work X amount of hours a day, I believe it's 3 or more, you receive a free meal. Their sense of teamwork and how they are focused on leadership development skills are really bar none. The other thing that I want you to know is many of our employers who recruit at MSU deeply respect students who work in dining or other service industries because they understand what the customer and what, you know, a high demand work environment looks like. So that's the case for dining. In addition to dining, we have other jobs in IT, in campus facility services, grounds, custodial, architecture services, right? Thinking about working for parking services, the campus bookstore, of course, tutoring. We hire over 200 students in the Allen Yarnell Center for Student Success. The library, graphic design. Frankly, it goes on and on and on. We're a version of a small city. And so when you think about a place where there are 20,000 people every day, virtually every job is possible. Accounting, right? Cashiering, inventory control. It goes on and on and on. And then another job we want our students to really think about is being a research associate in a lab. That can change your life. Working alongside with faculty and other graduate students and other undergraduate students, it's a terrific job where you're thinking about, like, what problem am I going to solve? What are some of those questions that, you know, tie to jobs or careers of the future? And that all happens at MSU.
I loved my student jobs when I was in college. I had several, but I ended up finding job experience within my field in a place that I just never thought that I would. I have a film degree and I worked for the athletics department, and it was so fun and so amazing and such an incredible experience. And it was very, very valuable for me as I was looking for jobs after college. So I think an on-campus job is such a fantastic way to get hands-on experience within your field without ever having to leave MSU campus. So
Well,
the
and
last
again,
question,
I
sorry,
just
go
want
ahead.
I just want to restate it that it's one of the most important things a student can do, like in terms of just not only staying on campus, feeling fulfilled on campus, but making that connection to your career. So.
And then I have one more kind of two-part question about jobs on campus. First, can you briefly explain the difference between a work-study position and just a student job on campus?
Sure. So, and this is a really interesting question at this time as the FAFSA is being reworked, right? Okay. So a work study job within that language work study is a designation that the U.S. Department of Education or financial aid give us to say that you have work study grant, work study money to be able to work on campus. Campus employers love this because they pay 30% of your salary And then the feds pay the 70% of your salary. This does not take away from your financial aid. This is an addition to. I'm sharing that detail because some of the coolest jobs on campus are work-study jobs because of that relationship between the match with the feds and the campus. So just know that if you have work-study, use it, use it. And how you use it is to go out to hireabobcat.com and we will feature work-study jobs on campus. You'll have a tab just for you if you're work-study eligible. Now, the question often is, well, I don't have work-study, but I want work-study. Well, go walk to the Office of Financial Aid, just walk on over in the basement of Montana Hall and ask them if you are eligible for work-study. And oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, if you're close on the bubble, if there's an opportunity for you to receive work-study, they will certainly look at it and do their best to offer it to you. So it's the proverbial, it never hurts to ask. Okay, so that's a work-study job. You can also use work-study for nonprofit employers in the community. And our team in Career and Internship Services works very closely with nonprofits across the Gallatin Valley, and we can help you find work-study jobs both on campus and off campus. And those can be particularly good as you think about your major and you might want to work in a specific area, like let's say natural resources. Lots of nonprofits in Bozeman and in the Gallatin Valley that are focused on natural resource questions, and you could use your work-study there. Perfect. That can often lead to a full-time job. Non-work-study jobs you can also find on hireabobcat.com, or go back and work with that gold standard program that's also in the Allen Yarnell Center for Student Success, and they'll help you find an on-campus job.
Perfect, thank you. The follow-up to that question, and he kind of touched on it a little bit, with the FAFSA delays this year, do you see that that could possibly affect any work-study positions that students might be eligible for on campus?
That's a great question. I think, do I think it could affect work-study positions on campus? No, we need them. Where I think we're going to have to all learn together is how work-study is identified and allocated. And so that's why I'm making the pitch that if you want work-study and it wasn't offered to you, go ask. Yeah, go for it. And of course, if it might not be possible, but if it is, I know our friends in financial aid are very much wanting to dispense those funds. That's their duty and responsibility. So, we might have a slight little tweaking that will be required over the next couple months, but just ask if you're work-study eligible.
Thank you. Do you have any events at all throughout the year that are hosted that are geared toward student success?
All the time, all the time. Every week we have several workshops that we host. This month is Financial Literacy Month. So we're very focused on expressing and sharing information about the financial literacy, those tips and tricks. We host etiquette dinners. We host executive closets where students can receive professional clothes for free in preparation for career fair. We host salary negotiation. Of course, we have tutoring and learning strategies and mindset development. I mean, it goes on and on and on. We literally are offering workshops in the residence halls, in the sub. You can meet one-on-one with a professional, with a peer. This is something that MSU shines at. And when our students take advantage of it, sky's the limit.
Perfect. Thank you. I love to highlight those student success events because I think it is the best way to get the student success resources directly in front of our students here at MSU.
Absolutely.
So we are getting close to the top of the hour here, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Dr. Beck, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to everybody, all of the attendees who joined us, and especially to our counselor team who were answering questions in the chat, grabbing some of those Q&A questions and loading them up for me to ask Dr. Beck as well. So again, thank you everyone for joining. If you registered for this webinar, you will be receiving a recording link for this if you ever want to go back and refer to it, but this will also be uploaded to our YouTube tomorrow. So thank you everybody who decided to join us today. And again, as always, go Cats.
Go Cats.